as well, which nobody watches, but that broadcast is going live, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll do an audio check in just a second.
Yeah, certainly no
Okay.
one will be watching today.
Oh, that's why we have the video. That's cool. That's cool.
Exactly.
That's cool. Uh,
Alright, so content, back episodes, tools, pulse.
yeah, pulse. Hold on.
Useful certain weapons. I thought
And then,
I thought they were supposed to already do the rebalancing thing. I thought they were supposed to do that when they fixed the protection from elites problem.
I
No.
think the weapon rebalancing was coming in patch 1.2 or something. I don't know. They haven't given an official date yet.
No, they haven't really said what they're going to do. It kind of worries me.
Well, I'm thinking they're just gonna remove crit damage or the
That's
crit
what I
chance
was.
from the.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking they'll probably take the SMGs. I don't think they'll get rid of crit damage. I think that they're just going to half it or take a good significant amount because, I mean, SMGs just bottom line are just they're just mathematically they're better guns.
Mhm.
Yeah. And also like they have like zero recoil, so they already are the best for
Hmm.
like pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why yeah, I think they're just gonna remove crit damage from them altogether. Maybe.
Well, because they were talking about everybody's like, oh, why don't they just take the auto rifles and up the damage on that? I don't think they'll up the damage because you still have the incursions that people are doing. So I mean, you would make those easier if they upped all the weapons.
Yeah, that's true.
You
Yeah.
That's
know.
true.
So I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I
But
hope it's
right now, everybody's pretty much using the snipers for the incursions, right? Everybody's
yeah.
just
That's
going down
it.
the pit.
Yeah. The
Snipers do
faster.
like bottom line the most damage in the game, so yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. All right.
I'm wondering. I'm kind of want to see how they handle that.
I agree. I agree. I mean, they haven't. I mean, they're starting to handle things a little bit better. I think. I don't know that it's been. I don't know. It's been a rough start, but again, I guess most these new games that are coming out like this, these first-person supposed RPGs, are it's the first of their kind. So I think they're still having a hard time
I
balancing
still have
everything.
faith. I still have
Yes,
faith. You can
Yeah.
I have
one
faith.
day fix everything.
Yeah, but my problem is it too little, too late? Have they lost a lot of their original base? Because I go on my friends list, and it used to just be division, 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 all the way down. Now it's Dark Souls, and a bunch. It's you go in my. It's not that many people are.
I
As,
think I think it's a combination of two things. Like obviously you're gonna have those people that are never coming back. So the damage
hmm
has already been done in a lot of ways. I totally agree on that. Um, but also I think there were gonna be people that were gonna be playing Dark Souls anyway because the game, a lot of people are a little bit casual, so they play this game, they play that game, and
Right.
I'm just hoping that not too much damage is done, and that eventually a lot of people will be able to come back to all of that.
Well, for me, I mean, I did a bunch of Destiny, and I want to go back and play that game. I want to. But
Mm-hmm.
then every time I log on to that screen and I watch that ship right there, I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not doing
Yeah.
this. I'm backing
Yeah.
back
Really?
out.
I
Yeah,
Really?
went back on
I'm just,
Sunday, and it
yeah,
was it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself, but yeah, those load screens.
yeah.
I
It's just
just
kind of like,
I get so
Are they
bored.
are they really that bad? I don't know.
I mean, it's not that bad. For me, it was like it was just, you know, like I said, I put in over 1,000, way over 1,000, and just again seeing that again and having that feel was not a welcoming experience for me. Again, I was just like I was very. It wouldn't say bitter. Over it is what it was. Over it.
Pat's
I
a very
can see what you
emotional,
mean.
very emotional.
You have like all these bad memories about the game. Oh, bad loot
Yeah.
again, bad loot again.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then you see the loading screen and
Yeah.
it all comes back to you and you're like,
Yes, it
oh
does.
no, not this nightmare
No,
again. I'm
not
gone.
again. Not again. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see. I can
All
see
right,
what you mean right there.
Pat, I love how you managed to get ice clinking on your glass.
Oh, man.
5 a.m. show. Oh my God.
it's
Let's
just
do a quick. Let's just do a quick around the horn audio check. Marco, go ahead.
Hello? Hello?
Well,
Can anyone hear me? Hold on, I can audio check for myself a little bit as well. I think I don't know if I'm loud enough, but I think everyone else
I
should be
think
fine.
you're fine.
I think I'm fine.
You're fine coming through on mine.
Yep.
Alden, go ahead, give me a check.
Hey, what's up out there?
So let's go ahead.
So tough.
It is currently 4:36 in the morning, and I'm very tired. Also, I'm working on stuff that's due in about 4.5 hours, so that's fun.
Why do I keep thinking Saws is on the West Coast for some reason? That's why I was like,
Oh, that'd be nice, but no.
Yeah, I forget you're just in
It's,
Chicago.
Hold on.
Midwest, Chicago.
Yeah.
all right, let me check this real quick.
I'm literally editing a paper right now,
Nice.
in case anybody's wondering.
All right, my one last attempt to fix this webcam. It's just no. That's definitely not it.
Everybody sounds good. All right, so
Yep.
we'll follow the notes more or less. I think we'll probably do like I guess the one thing just to take a quick look at before we get started, Marco, is we're going to do this 10 questions for Marco thing at the end.
Okay. Okay.
All that stuff should be off the top of your head kind of stuff, I think.
Let me check the questions. How do you say hello in the Netherlands? Well, that's going to be a very easy one because it's pretty much hello. I mean,
One of our guys asked that.
Describe the state of the game.
Yeah, again, I think this is stuff we'll just do it. We'll just, kind of meant to be just kind of off the top of the head. A couple things.
Any predictions for the upcoming incursion? I don't know, man.
It's gonna suck. Is that what you're?
Yeah. A bigger horde mode?
We're fighting 15 waves of Rikers versus I don't know. What was it again? There was
Don't
something.
have any.
So it was like a rocket launching site or something that it was gonna be. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, this will be fine. Let's just go with it. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm all up for it, man.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let me start. Welcome to DZR, episode 16 of the Dark Zone Report. I'm Danthrax. I'm your host. This morning, oh boy, we all sound a little different today. And we all look like crap on the YouTube. It's because we are recording this at 5:30 in the morning. I've already gotten one text from my wife to keep it down. As the show progresses.
We haven't even started yet. You already got your text?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is bad.
This early morning DZR will be revealed shortly. Got a couple of gentlemen with me this morning. The first, on my left, barely alive, struggling through yet another sickness of some sort, and a paper due in 4 hours. Awesome, Saws. What's going on, Saws?
I'm tired. It's 4:30 here, so I'm I'm just tired.
When Saws first came on, I see him with like a spoonful of what were those?
Fruit Loops. They were Fruit Loops.
Breakfast of champions.
Eating my breakfast. Yep.
Right next
I
to
believe
him,
it's like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh my gosh, you're supposed to be a professional. Let me finish my intro. Right next to him, we've got, I think probably for the first time, completely sober on the show, Golden, what's going on, Golden?
Hey. Well, I mean, you had to get me up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if there'd be any carryover, but you look great, man. Hopefully we can get through this. There's always mimosas, brother. And then right next,
Always.
special guest for the morning, Marco. What's going on, Marco?
Hey, what's going on? I can't believe I was going to say this when I interrupted you, but I can't believe that I let you guys pick a time for this on Saturday and that you all pick like this early.
Yeah.
It's like 5 a.m. for everybody here, and for me it's like 11:30 a.m. and I still feel like shit right now.
Marco rolls out of bed at 11:30. Oh gosh, it's so early.
It's my style.
Yeah, it's
There you
like,
go. I like it. I like it.
No, you know what it is? It's funny, and I think I know we get a lot of parents that listen to us. For me to find an hour in the middle of a Saturday that's uninterrupted is actually really challenging. So,
Yeah.
we took advantage of the time difference and did it early so that we may still get interrupted. Who knows? But at least we've got
A better chance. Yeah.
A better chance. I was gonna say that.
Yeah, but hey, before we get rolling, Marco, why don't you just, in the off chance that there's anybody in our audience that doesn't know who you are or what you do, why don't you just give us a quick intro?
I make YouTube videos about The Division on YouTube because that's where YouTube videos are. What else is there to say? I do like informative videos mostly. Stream a couple times sometimes, but that's really about it.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. We're excited to have you. And if you're, sometimes when people are guests on podcasts, we'll do this like long, kind of interview style thing to start. That's great. We're not going to do that here.
Okay.
Just because we're all exhausted. And at this point, Anyway.
Sure,
but
man.
everyone's background on Marco, one of our good friends, a good friend of the show, Alex the Lion, just recently did a pretty long interview with you, I believe. So, guys,
Yeah,
check.
that's right. Oh, you know him as well.
Yeah, Alex.
Yeah, okay. True.
So, want to get and I'm not sure if you guys talked about your personal life at all or background or whatever. I'm sure you did.
Not really, actually.
Well, hey, this is your moment. If there's anything you'd like to share with the world, Marco, about...
you should have said that before we started. Now I can't think of anything at the moment.
That's his MO.
That's it. Hey, thanks for being here, man. And we're actually, the timing is working out perfect because as we're going to kind of get into, we just started a skill series of content last week. And we're going to be looking at one of your favorite skills today, the pulse. So perfect timing for you to be on the show. Glad you're here, man. Hey, little bit of show news. I guess the biggest thing for everybody is that we just launched DarkZoneReport.com this past Thursday. Well, I guess it was Friday. The site is up, everybody. So we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now, and it's out there. It's looking good. It's a little light on content right now. It's kind of like that really good-looking person with no personality. But we're going to work on getting more and more content and depth there. The plan right now is to have original content on there, back episodes of podcasts, as well as a lot of kind of community art and content. We've already got some fan art up there, which is cool stuff, and featured division content from around the web. We'll be highlighting some different content producers, and then a bunch of kind of tools and resources that we've found to help you in the division. So make sure you go and check that out. Also, the Discord is continuing to grow. We actually are up to 240 members now, which is great, and have still been having just a ton of fun in there. And
I'm a part of it now, too.
Yeah, and Marco's there. He jumped in yesterday, and we were talking about skill power caps and all that. So it's a good spot, and we've got players playing together, and it's really kind of doing exactly what we hoped it would do. And so, hey, wherever you are, if you're looking for folks to play with, we're still getting people kind of coming in saying, oh, yeah, I was just thinking about it and whatever, but get in here, man. It's been really good and a lot of fun, a good place to talk the game and also meet up with people to play with. Really kind of chill environment, too. We have a don't be a douche policy, and so far everybody is following it. So So that's great.
Relatively.
Speaking, yeah. And we got, hosts from the show are in there. We've got a bunch of people that kind of pop in and out, so it's a great spot to be. If you want to join the Discord, it's going to be a little bit harder to find now because we actually have the website up, but there's a tab called Community in our menu, and if you go in there, you'll see a link to get to the Discord and get going with us. We'd love to have you in there. Also, as always, we're always looking for listener kind of feedback and content and your emails. So you can get us, if you want to be a part of the show, you can get us at dzrmailbag@gmail.com. And we actually have had a couple of emails come in this week, so we're going to look at those.
We're going to take a look in the mailbag.
We're going to, let's go to the mailbag. All right, so the first one. Let's see what this guy. Oh, this guy's handle is Jimmy Vegas. He's not from Vegas. He's from Sweden, but that's all right. That's a cool name. He says, "Hey, I listen to your podcast and really appreciate it." Excellent, man. Thank you. Got a suggestion for future game updates. I don't know if you guys have touched on this before, but here goes. A lot of people have different gear combinations that they use, and it's kind of tedious to click every single gear talent and change it manually. I'd like a way to change the layout of my character in an instant, like a gear profile of sorts. With a click of a button, you change your weapons, gear, talents, etc., depending on what role you're going to play. Keep up the good work. That's from Jimmy Vegas. Man, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah. I have like a different build for when I play PvE and PvP, so I can definitely find myself in that. I always carry both of them, so I can swap them on the fly. But yeah, I can really find myself in that. I do think they're going to be adding such a feature though. Hopefully, in 1.2. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in a game where there are no defined classes, right, and you have the opportunity to kind of change roles, even within PvE. Let's say you're jumping on, and okay, now you got your friend that only is equipped to play one kind of role. It'd be great to be able to just switch back and forth without having to go through. The other thing I find is when I'm getting new items and you start switching things around, sometimes it's hard to remember.
Yes.
What did I have on? And you spend all this time kind of sorting through. I would also add to that, we need a lock button.
And you also deconstruct your golden M1A with balanced by accident because you accidentally marked it for deconstruction, which happened to a friend of mine.
Yeah, I sold my first Midas that I got that same exact way.
And there's no buyback option. That must have been so bad.
Yeah, I found another one, which was kind of cool. I haven't seen any other name drops, but I got two of the Midas, which I
was in the Dark Zone, I guess.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where they drop.
Yeah, but it's good. It's a good gun. I've been using it actually, been enjoying it. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, here we go. This will be an interesting topic. This is from Ninja Badger 7, who is actually on the Discord, pretty active on there. So what's going on, Ninja? He says, "Hi all. What do you think Massive needs to do in the long term to keep people playing and for the game not to get stale?" Oh boy. I come from a Destiny WoW background, so I'm used to grinding dungeons missions for loot and then some more loot. But even with the base game, I felt like hard, challenging missions are already getting repetitive, and Falcon Lost was a bit boring and lacking in imagination. This game has so much going for it. Yes, put aside the bugs, so I really hope it doesn't go the way of so many other games. I, for one, really hope they introduce more interesting gear. I've used the same vector for weeks, but never found anything worth replacing it. And continue with some of the new additions like the supply drops in the DZ. I have faith in Massive and just wondered what your thoughts were on it. Keep up the good job. So let's toss that out. Saws, thoughts in terms of what needs to happen for longevity in this game? What do you got?
I think we need more modes to play. I mean, I think right now the hard modes are too easy. Challenging is a little bit too hard. Not in the difficulty sense. It's just compared to the hard modes and how easy they are. Challenging is a little bit kind of high for that. I think they need something in between to be a little bit more challenging for solo players or more challenging for smaller groups, and then something with the challenging mode. I think it would be more interesting to have some kind of fun mode. I don't know, like there was the soccer ball in the tower. That was just something to mess around with. I think that would be something ridiculous to do with no point. I don't know.
There's a viral outbreak. There's no time for soccer balls.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that I think just more stuff would be nice.
Yeah, so you're saying kind of content in general. The point you make about the challenge mode is really interesting. I mean, I've attempted on a few times to either solo the challenge mode or to carry a low level person through, which was essentially a solo. But I haven't been able to do it. So, and now granted, I'm not geared to the max. Golden, have you tried to solo a challenge mode yet?
I have not tried to solo a challenge mode. Yeah, are you talking about the incursion, or are you just talking about challenge modes in general?
Challenge mode on a mission.
No, no, I'm not. I'm not that lone wolf guy. I'd rather, go ahead and pack up 3 other friends and run through it and get the same rewards.
Yeah, yeah. How about you, Marco? You ever soloed that thing?
Yeah, I did it a couple times, but it's just better to do it with 3 people just because it goes faster. But it's definitely doable. It's you spend like 20 minutes on it, and if you do it with a couple friends, you're like done in 5 or 8 or something. So it's a little bit of waste of time to actually try it alone, but it's possible. It's possible.
Got it. Yeah, so I mean, other kind of thoughts for me to make sure this game has legs. I do think that we've talked before on the show. So I've done the incursion a couple more times since we talked last. It's gotten a little more fun now that I've kind of geared up more and more, but still, I think, as we've talked about in the past, not a whole lot there in terms of mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
In one single kind of room kind of ultimately makes it, all right, here we're going to spend 20 minutes to a half hour doing the exact same thing, which is essentially running from side to side in a tunnel and shooting guys. And so I think that I've said it a bunch of times, but getting end game activities that are really interesting and fun and challenging and progressive, things that you can work towards. So let's say it's hard enough that you only get through 1 or 2 stages in the first night, having a checkpointed. I really want to raid at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And I guess the other thing for me is, the PvP in this game is, on the one hand, I really love the idea of this kind of accidental PvP or this kind of simultaneous PvE and PvP that we can get in the Dark Zone.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, for the pure PvP player, this is not a game that I can see that person sticking with because it's such an inconsistent PvP experience, right? Like, let's say they jump on, they want to do some PvP, they go into the Dark Zone and they happen to get on an empty server or a server
that's true.
That's got a few people that their only interest is avoiding any kind of PvP. You don't have that side of the game in there for those kind of players. And so when you talk about modes, Saws, maybe there's a way to kind of make a really consistent, more match-based PvP, kind of get that in the game. Just a couple of thoughts for me. Anything from you, Golden, on things they should do to kind of make sure the game continues to have legs?
Well, I think content is pretty much what we're looking for here. The PvP mode, I don't know what exactly their vision is, whether or not they want to bring a more PvP-based experience in there. I will say this, though, that, I've been with some groups that that's all they do is PvP. And, they've expressed that, there's not much to do. But, some of these guys are, level 90, 95, they're running through. There is really no incentive for that player, to keep going. I don't know. I'm looking at the notes right now as far as, what they're going to add, and it doesn't look like anything has to do with PvP. It looks like it's all going to be PvE content. So the incursion is obviously not a raid. There's no mechanics there. So, I don't know what their next step is. They have it outlined for the DLC, but as far as keeping players that have pretty much maxed their character out and going around, looking for PvP experiences, I think people have already gone that route.
Yeah, we do have one of the DLCs that they really specifically mentioned. I got to pull it up here. Is going to be PvP related, or is going to affect how you play in the Dark Zone. I mean, some of the DLC looks good to me too, as you kind of look at the over the year coming. But again, it's got to be deep enough that it engages players to the point that there's replayability there, and it's something they want to do over and over. Marco, any thoughts from you on kind of
Definitely, man. Definitely. You're giving me the last to talk here, so I've got a lot of time to talk about my answer, or a lot of time to think about it. But yeah, I think aside from the bugs and the occasional glitches and stuff like that, which are not so occasional, by the way, I think this game has two major problems. And for one, that is it doesn't have enough RPG to it. It's like everybody can just spec damage, spec health, and just go with it. That's it. The enemies, they can just be killed in just shooting them. There's no special way to kill special enemies. I mean, of course, you can stun the drones a little bit with like a sticky bomb grenade, but it's like not necessary. And then on the other hand, another part of this part of the problem is that players are not rewarded enough for their activities. So basically, you can only get the best gear one times a week through playing the incursion, which a lot of people do not like because it's the same thing over and over again, like you mentioned. 15 waves, same enemies, no special mechanics. Again, not with the enemies, not by killing the tank. Well, you have to press a button. It's not that not that special. And for playing in the Dark Zone, players play for hours. Whether it's the PvP, whether it's the grind loot, players play the challenge mode missions. They play for hours and hours, and they are just not properly rewarded for it. They do not get the gear that they like, and everything ends up being deconstructed for crafting materials, and that makes the game really boring because you pretty much have this mindset whenever you gotta play, like, oh boy, I'm gonna do this challenge mission 10 times, and it's not like I'm going to get a whole lot of cool items. Oh, I'm so excited to see what I get. No, that's not what it is. It's like, oh boy, I'm so excited to get 10 new high-end crafting materials. So maybe tomorrow I can craft a new high-end backpack and see if the RNG gods are with me that night. And I think that makes both the gameplay very boring because you're just mindlessly shooting at enemies because, there's no special way to kill them. There's no hard counters needed. There's basically no crowd control that you need to do. Utility is useless. It's all about damage, damage, damage. And then the rewards are not there either because you pretty much know what you're going to get and you pretty much know it's going to be shit every single time. And I think if they fix those two issues, then the game is well on its way to being a lot of fun for everybody pretty much.
Yeah, and I think both of those, it's funny because the items you mentioned are things that are fixable, right? It's not like we've got a bad premise or a bad-looking game or some kind of fundamental flaw to the game. It's fundamentally a fun game. It's fundamentally a good game. These are issues of things that can be added, things that can be tweaked. It's funny because I know recently you did a video where you talked about is the grind worth it, and you actually went into some mathematical percentages, of roll. Let's say you're actually trying to min-max here, and you're trying
to
build. It's really
hard. You get even if you're crafting and you're neglecting most of the statistics, like I'm not gonna care about high armor, I'm not gonna care about high firearms, I'm not gonna care about this, that. I'm just looking for to get the pulls because I'm playing with the pulls, whatever it's called. I always mispronounce that. It's gonna be a fun episode because this is all about the pulls. But basically, you had like a chance of 1 in 1,000 to craft it, and if you're looking to get that item out of a drop, there's a chance that you're not getting a backpack, but also getting gloves, weapons, performance mods, those kind of things. And then of course you also have the chance that it's a level 30 or a level 31 item instead of that level 32 that you're actually looking for. So the chance that you're actually getting something that would progress your character in any meaningful way is almost zero, I would say. I think the chance is like, I don't know, it's like really, really small, and I think that needs to. I have plans to make a video to show how that should be changed. I don't know if you've noticed it, but yesterday I put part 1 out of. Since you mentioned is it worth the grind video, I've actually did a follow-up video on that on how they should fix the things. So I don't know if you had a chance to see that yet. Doesn't really matter. But that's I think that's really something that they should be start working on, and probably I really hope that they have a fix in some way or another with their first real DLC, basically the underground thing. It was right. That was
yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that one.
Yeah, and I think those are. I mean, I agree with those points. I think what I've ended up doing is, you essentially end up focusing on some key stats that you can get on a lot of stuff. So it's like, okay,
Yes.
for
Crit damage, crit chance,
damage, right?
and just as much damage. RPG, yeah. No, it's just that.
So no, I think you're right. I mean, or you end up by chance you are looking through your inventory and you see, oh wow, I have a concentration randomly of turret health.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
and you just happen to have those pieces of gear and you say, okay, well maybe I'll start to focus my build a little bit around what I have. But certainly.
But then you never get a drop with that anymore. It's like you play a month and then it never. Oh well, I'm done. I'm giving up.
I guess I'll switch to something else that I've got a lot of jobs for.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, one other thing for me on this is I would really love to see the named weapons be more special. I mean, I'm not a guy that really opposes RNG. I think it can be really frustrating, but as somebody that, didn't get my Galahorn in Destiny for, 8 months or something like that, and finally was able to have one drop, the feeling of having that happen, was a cool thing. And I was glad that I got it, number one, and I was glad, the chase was a big part of playing that game for me. And so, but right now, I mean, I don't, I'd love to have the other named weapons, but I'm basically running with I've got how do you say it, Golden? The pecan?
The pecan, yeah.
That delicious LNG
pecan. I think they're trying to make those special, but I just don't think that the developers know what talents are good. I don't think they knew what talents were going to be good before they released the game. I honestly think that when they made the Caduceus, that's how you say it, right? Caduceus?
Yep, you got it.
Yeah, so when they made the Caduceus, for example, they really thought by themselves that this is going to be a weapon with like dream stats on it and stuff like that. And it could be if the game wasn't so focused towards crit chance and crit damage. If the game wasn't so if it wasn't so difficult to actually build a character that you wanted, I think those weapons would have been really special because the bacon is really good for PvE. It has destruction or destructive armor, right? It has a couple of other those things. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't bought it yet. I haven't even bought it yet. That's how not special these weapons are at the moment. And the Caduceus has a lot of cooldown reduction, so that's obviously meant for like a healer person, I guess. But yeah, I think these weapons could have been really cool if the game wasn't so bad in its RPG deliverance.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's funny because I actually roll with a Midas just because I really like it. I like the way it feels. It's worked out pretty good for me, but it's not because of special talents.
No, exactly.
It's because it's a just really solid machine gun or submachine.
It's like it looked like a pimp in the Dark Zone with a golden gun. That's.
I do like the gold, I have to admit.
That's what it is.
No, and it's funny you mentioned actually. We call it the pecan just because that's how that's it. But I actually view that as to me that's a pretty good PvE weapon because it's actually got damage to elites on it as well. So it's a pretty nice little roll, particularly with some of the gear sets. But again, like I said, it's kind of like those kind of weapons should really work. I mean, you look at the Caduceus, right? Like that's a roll gun, right? That's a gun that's meant for someone that has built into a really specific build, and like you said, it's one of those things that just needs to be easier to do, or even possible to do in the game. It doesn't have to be easy, but it needs to be possible. There needs to be a clear path.
Right now, it's not possible because everything's too random, too expensive.
Lucky, really lucky. All right, last email. This is from Bushido. Nice. He says, my DZ rank is 85. I play on PS4, and I'm listening to the latest episode as I type in this email, finding myself talking back to you guys, joining the conversation. He makes a couple of points. Number one, the DZ patch from last week stops players from cheating to get in the 161 bracket. It now takes into account all gear you have, period, on you and in your stash. Do we know if that you can still move gear to an alt to change your bracket, correct?
Yep, I did that. I tried it, and it works completely. You just move all your stuff to second, third, or fourth character, and it just lets you go through. And somehow, I did that one day to farm a division tech, because in those lower bracket servers, usually nobody is there, so you can get a lot of division tech. And I logged off and I logged back in the next day, and somehow I had like close to 200 gear score, and I was still in the 160 bracket. So there's something that doesn't really work too well that lets you stay there. I'm not sure exactly how it's done or anything, but they should still look into that because it's still possible to go to lower brackets as of now.
Yeah, and I guess that is a good thing to know if you're one of the problems that we had is we had guys that started at different times, and so there were people that just weren't at that 160 gear score level yet, and so if you want to play with a friend or whatever, you can stash your gear on an alt and make that happen. His second point, granted, gear score doesn't indicate how good you are, but those with higher gear score above 200 probably glitched, with the exception of the legit runs. There should be a 200 plus gear bracket. And if those guys step in the DZ with poor PvP skills and get rolled, that's their problem. They shouldn't have glitched.
I like it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about that before, and we'll talk about the glitching a little bit later in the show. We take a perspective. I know some people feel very strongly about it. I mean, from our perspective, look, you paid to have this game, and if that's the way you want to play it, that's fine. But the point that this guy is making is that gear score doesn't indicate skill, and I think we've mentioned that a bunch of times on the show before, and I don't disagree with this guy to the extent that more, and we've also talked about how kind of more brackets in the Dark Zone might be helpful. So yeah, I don't think. I think we're on board with you, man. I'll cut it there. If not, the email would be 2 pages, LOL. But I enjoyed the show. Keep it up. Between you guys and Rogue Agent Radio, I get my division fix. That's from Bushido. Everybody, thanks for writing in. We always appreciate hearing from you. dzrmailbag@gmail.com if you want to be a part of the show. All right, let's jump in here to the actual content of the show. As we talked about last week, we're starting a series on the skills. And last week we talked about skill power in general, talked about caps, talked about a bunch of stuff. If you are just checking in on us, that'd be a good episode to go back. We did a lot of detailed work kind of on stats and things, and so that's a good place to start. But now we're going to start kind of working through, starting with the medical wing, the individual skills and talking about them, finding some kind of things about them that might not be totally obvious, and kind of talking about how we use them tactically. So today, we're talking about the pulse. Now, just some high-level stuff. You get the pulse pretty early in the game, so even if you're kind of a new player, you probably have it. There's 3 main mods for this. There's Recon, Tactical, and Scrambler. So Recon is essentially an extension. It's kind of an extender on the pulse. Basically lets the kind of field go way out. Is anybody using Recon? I know early on that was a big thing to be using in the Dark Zone just because it gives you a lot of visibility, but are any of you guys actually using that mod on your pulse?
I think it's like a little bit bugged right now, isn't it? It's bugged to the point where it doesn't really show loot all the time. So the one key feature that it had to show if any loot chests were available in the area, I think that doesn't work right now. So I don't think it's smart to use that right now.
Yeah, and it still gives you kind of an extended range, but really, most of the time I'm finding that the engagement ranges, the normal pulse is more than enough to
exactly
to see kind of where people are. It's not like there's many people that are one-shotting people from like 3 blocks away.
No.
M44?
No, the damage falls off really a lot after a certain distance.
Yeah.
Even with snipers.
So we wouldn't recommend Recon at the moment. We'll jump. There's one that I use, so we'll do that one last. But let's jump to Scrambler. So essentially, what Scrambler does, and Marco, I know you also just did a video recently on the pulse, and so to the extent there's some hidden stuff here you want to talk about, just jump in. But on the Scrambler, for me, the way I kind of understand Scramblers, it'll basically keep you from being pulsed. To me, primarily a PvP application of the pulse, but
exactly. I think it's the best pulse that's currently there in PvP if you're running within a squad. A lot of you would have probably expected me to say if you're running solo, to kind of hide yourself away. But then you're missing out on a lot of potential damage that you kind of need if you're running solo versus NPCs, like from the tactical mod that gives you extra damage and a higher crit chance and crit damage. That one is just so useful. And if you're going to get ganked by 4 players, you're going to get ganked anyway. The Scrambler's not going to do a whole lot about that. Because 9 out of 10 times you're going to the same checkpoints, or not the checkpoints, the same landmarks, because that's where the enemies are as the rest, and you're going to be found anyway. But yeah, Scrambler, basically you activate it, you get a little bit of a buff. You can see it underneath your health bar, and then for a timed period you are hidden from any and all pulses. So that's how that works.
Yeah, and again, especially in the team context, you in the team context, you could have somebody else running the pulse with tactical. So you actually
exactly. That is the whole thing. But
yeah, you're not giving up the damage as a group, but you're kind of gaining the added bonus of not being.
You're getting the best of both, basically.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. All right, and I guess the last mod, which is the one that I actually roll with Pulse almost all the time, and this is the one that I roll with, is Tactical, which is essentially it buffs your damage by, well, it does it in a couple of ways. So do you have actual numbers, Marco, on kind of how much?
It increases your base damage by 10%. That's both on normal hits and critical hits. And then it just increases your critical hit chance and critical hit damage on top of that. So, obviously the crit chance and damage, that's going to depend on your skill power and your, your items that you are wearing, your gear, because those may have bonuses on it as well. But that's all it does. Basically, what makes it really good is that the base critical hit chance and damage start off a lot higher than the other pulses. And, of course, you also get like the 10% extra damage on top of it.
Yeah, and particularly in a group setting, it just really, the ability to kind of buff everybody. It's just a really powerful tool.
Not only that, you can see them through walls. I mean,
well, there is that.
Yeah.
There's that whole thing with there being no place to hide when the pulse is out, which is great. Golden, you use Pulse, or I know in most settings you're normally running a healing station, and I'm trying to think what you run as your second skill, but do you use Pulse on a regular basis or no?
DZ I do. I switch everything around, use Tactical Link, and I use Heal, Tactical Link, and then Pulse. And I do use the one that you use because we can stack them. So, whenever you're going in and you're going in for that supply drop, you've got that Tactical Link ready to go. Pop that Pulse, 2 people rush, 1 person pops their super, and then you're rushing in. I think in the DZ, Pulse is probably one of the most used, and this is just a guess from what I've seen. You get 2 people running Pulse and you stack that thing going, and you can get a lot of damage out of that.
Yeah, and I think so. That's an interesting point, because I know we ran the incursion a couple times last weekend, and you certainly end up with a layered pulse. Do we know though? I mean, I'm just trying to think if I've ever actually tested whether 2 pulses active on a team actually increase that.
Yes.
Stronger pulse overrides.
Really?
Yeah. Whoever has a stronger pulse available, that one overrides. But if you're running, let's say, Scrambler and Tactical, then you'll get the benefits from being hidden, as well as the added damage boost. Because the damage boost overrides the Scrambler, but then the Scrambler still gives the passive buff to the whole team of being concealed.
Pulse knowledge from Mark.
Yeah. Well, as you said, I did a video about it. I'm supposed to know these things now.
Subject matter expert. No, it's funny because that's a really kind of cool thing actually that you just mentioned, which is essentially you can get the benefits of running the 2 different mods on 2 different players without losing the damage output, which is pretty cool. It's actually cool. It works that way.
That's why most of the time we run 3 or even 4 pulses. We have 2 tacticals and 2 scramblers, and we just rotate them so that we're concealed at all times, and we also have the damage buff at all times. And then with 4 survivor links, we don't really ever die.
Yeah, and there's been some. So in terms of getting the most out of the pulse, and I don't know if you've got your own numbers, Marco, but one of what I'm looking at is essentially the work that was done. We talked about it last week. It's out on Reddit. Capone put out essentially an analysis of where kind of the optimal skill, where the effective skill power caps are for each skill. And with tech, or with the pulse in particular, it looks like there's different working caps. At least from this guy's data, there's working caps between all the different mods, and it ranges from Scrambler. It looks like is actually the one that has the highest skill power cap, which is actually over 100,000. Then the other two are kind of in, like, for tactical, it seems like you kind of reach max benefit with a skill power level of around 42,000 and around 7,000 for the recon one. Is that pretty consistent with what you've seen in your testing?
Well, they have different starting values and different scaling values. For example, if you take a look at the critical hit chance and damage, those are inherently lower with the Scrambler, but the cap will still be 40 chance and 100 damage. So if your starting value is lower, you're going to need more skill power to push that up to its max, right? I think that's where that's coming from. And of course, also maybe the scaling values are a little bit different. So I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. We're going to go deep into the nerd zone here and talk about some of the actual math that's kind of underneath these mechanics. But when you say scaling factor, why don't you just give the people a sense of what you're...
It's how much or how much the statistics of a skill increases per point of skill power. So let's say that for example with the Scrambler mod you get 1,000 extra skill power. Then I'm just naming something here because I don't know them out of the top of my head. But let's say that with 1,000 skill power, the Scrambler mod gives you 2% extra critical hit chance. But then the tactical mod would give you 3.5%, basically because they skill different per skill power point.
Yeah, so it's an interesting point because it's where with these kind of RPGs you really get into it's not a straight line thing. It's not like for every skill that you're going to use an extra point or extra 100 or extra 1,000 points of skill power are going to do the same thing to every.
Well, that's something I don't know. That's actually something I'm looking into as we speak right now. I've noticed something really weird with the skill haste, but I don't want to say anything right now because all of it might be wrong. But that is something that I'm looking into right now.
That doesn't on the show, man. You just put it out there. So corrects it. No, it's interesting. It's an interesting point. I guess the point that I'm making is to the extent that you roll with a particular skill and you really like that skill, it's worth kind of testing these things and looking at them because you might think, oh well, I need to be maxed out on skill power for this skill to be most effective, and that may actually not be the case. Depending on your playstyle, depending on the scaling, there might be room to get to a certain point with your skill power and then devote your energies to boosting other aspects of your game if you're going to lock into one skill, because you could get to a point where, for instance, like the numbers we look at on tactical for the pulse say, once you're kind of around 60,000 skill power, 42,000 skill power, you're starting to kind of top out in terms of your benefit.
It's not just that. What you're talking about is basically hard caps for the skills, right?
Yep.
What I'm talking about is that they have added curves in like the graphs to a lot of these things. So what you may see is that with the first 1,000 skill power, you will get more in percentage-wise than with the next 1,000 skill power. There is diminishing returns on some of these things. For example, I know that skill haste, that's currently something I'm looking into for the next video as well, is that when you have a 10% skill haste, your skill cooldown, your skills will actually be 20% faster. When you have 50% skill haste, your skills will be 70% faster. But when you have 100% skill haste, your skills will be 100% faster. And then when you have 114, your skills will still be they will be 101% faster. So basically, the diminishing returns really kicks in at that point. It's basically none of these values are a straight line, and I'm a little bit afraid that the same thing applies to critical hit chance and damage.
Wow.
I haven't really tested that as well, so again, I don't want to make claims, but it's very possible that when you have, let's say, 50% critical hit damage, you're actually doing 70% critical hit damage. And then when you hit like 100, you're doing 110, and then when you hit at 150, you're actually doing 150. So it's like they added a lot of curves to kind of boost the first couple percentages on a lot of these stats, which I think is really weird. But that kind of makes the argument that every player should be an all-around player more strong, because basically if you have everything, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you have everything higher than what you should have in that sense, because of how that works. I really don't think that's a good mechanic, but it's something that I'm looking into right now. It's really weird.
So we've managed now to talk about exponential curves at 6:15 in the morning, which is getting later, but admit
Oh.
not up full mind.
I'm sorry. I thought we were going into the nerd zone here.
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And I think the overall point is, this is the benefit of paying attention when you're switching gear around. And what I say that is like, sometimes we just grab something and we say, okay, well, it's got this stat, or it's got this number, and we factor in on one number. And that people did this, I know, with the gear sets. They just automatically were jumping into gear sets, and then they all of a sudden realized, oh crap, I've actually managed to destroy my build here because I was chasing, a color, or and so I think this is the point to say, whether or not you're going to go down into the firing range and test this, or whether you're just going to do it in real life, pay attention. If you've got a set of gear and a build that you like, and you add a piece, don't just sell your old piece right away. Don't just
never.
Never. See how it works. See how it's working the game. Pay attention to the damage.
But it's kind of like a bad thing as well, because there's no way of really knowing what kind of stats and what different stats in the game are curved and scoot so much around. Like, for example, if it wasn't for Hornet, where I got like 999 out of every high-end material, I would have never known these things, because right now I'm back down to 300 high-ends of all. I've crafted over I don't know how many high-end items to try and get all the stats and try and test these things out. And, if I hadn't had that opportunity, I would still be thinking that a lot of these stats are, the way that they aren't, actually, and just kind of fake. I'm thinking I have a good build going, but in reality, a lot of my stats are already kept, although it doesn't even show on the statistics when I go into my character menu, because, as I said, the skill haste, it pretty much caps out at 100%. But when you look at the character tab, it can go way over that. I had 114, 124, but it just doesn't do anything. And the game doesn't tell you. Nothing tells you. And I think that's really bad.
Yeah, and I think, it's one of those deals where, we're glad that we actually have a community kind of working on these things, right? Because for the individual player, like you said, they might just say, like, wow, I want it faster and faster, So the guy that's jumping in and playing this game 15 hours a week is not going to be doing extensive testing.
No.
Curves are, and that's the benefit of the community that we have, and the positive, I think, is that we got people working on these things, and so we'll try and keep everybody up to date. And certainly Marco's channel is a great place. I mean, that's really the kind of content you're doing now, which I think is great. A couple other guys, Skill Up does some stuff in that arena. Like, I really appreciate you guys that are mathing this game, because it. It's in there, it's a part of it, and again, making that kind of stuff available for the more casual player, I think, is a really cool thing. Let's do this real quick. So back up to kind of a higher level on the tactical or on the pulse in general, but we'll kind of focus on the tactical for a moment. Do you guys have any thoughts on whether or not this is if somebody's locked into a particular loadout in terms of class, right, of weapon. So let's say they're an AR user. Let's say they're an AR LMG user, which probably not the build I would recommend at this point.
No.
But if that's what you like, are there weapons where the pulse is kind of even more valuable than others? I mean, for me, it's just such the tactical pulse is just such a natural fit for the SMG. But I don't know. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Is it more applicable? Is it better with certain weapons than with others?
Well, since the pulse boosts your critical hit damage, I mean, and the SMG has critical hit chance, so, that goes very hand in hand. But I think if you're looking to play with an LMG or with an assault rifle, you probably want to get some of those talents where weapon damage is increased after using a skill, because you're usually going to pulse right before you're going to shoot at someone, right, for the extra damage and that kind of stuff. But it's not like the pulse does anything more for you on an assault rifle or an LMG. And SMGs, it's just that SMGs are so good right now. I don't think the pulse has much influence in that at all.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. They've been talking about doing some weapon balancing. I'm really interested to see what they do. I mean, we've talked about it before in Golden. I know you and I have talked about it. I really want a shotgun, man. I want a usable shotgun in this game in the worst way. I have one that I keep trying to force into situations.
The Super 90, yep.
Yeah, maybe I'll use my shotgun here, and sometimes it works out well, but it's just they're just not there. I don't know.
I've tried it with the shotgun, mostly blind firing, and then trying to dodge the other guy's bullets. That sometimes works, especially if you're being chased and you're going in the underground. But it's so situational, and the SMG is just so much better in so many other situations. But I really hope they add some more pump to it, like when you actually shoot a guy up close and he actually dies, instead of just you have to spend a whole magazine and just killing him.
Yeah,
I've shot him 6 times in the face with a shotgun. Like,
yeah,
the only time I've seen a shotgun work is I was trying to power level a character up to 4, so I could have the stash that I could put stuff in. Yeah, power leveling to level 4. So I got a shotgun, and I was just running up to everybody. I didn't care, just shooting them. You could one shot there, but as soon as you got to like 5, you would half health them, and then they could actually do damage. So.
We're talking about the shotgun you got like on the first what's it called in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, you're facing level 1 enemies. Yeah, no shit, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because you think at some point we could get our hands on one of the LMB's shotguns, because those things.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I would like to wield.
Freaking sniper rifles.
I did see something interesting a couple weeks ago with somebody using a shotgun and explosive round. In the Dark Zone, that was pretty effective. But again,
I think that's a waste. I think explosive rounds in general are just broken. And when you have an M44 sniper that guarantees you an explosive bullet every round, I was doing this like a couple of days ago on stream, and I was just one-shotting everybody basically. Like it's crazy. It's so funny. People were calling me a hacker at some point too.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that actually in the last, I think, week or two. Guys that I do a lot of PvP with, basically, it's always put the explosive rounds on every single time, and it works. I mean, it does. It's
so overpowered.
It will make you OP, and if you see these, you got these rogues. You're looking down the street. You pop your M44, and then you pop, and 2 people pops their explosive rounds, and you got 2 rushers running, and you can get coordinated, man. There's not many people that are going to be able to stand up to you.
The thing is, though, is that the explosives, the explosions that you see, that's a separate type of damage. And the damage is usually close to what one bullet would hit for. So if you have a sniper that hits for, let's say, 25k, and you shoot him, and, that's 25k damage, plus another 25k from the explosion. But because the explosion is counted as exotic damage, your normal armor doesn't count towards that. So what usually would have been only 25 damage is now like 60k damage. So you're doing 25 plus 60. So everybody with max armor and 85,000 health, anyone below that is going to die in one hit.
One shot.
Yeah, that's just that. So everybody in the game is guaranteed going to die in 2 hits, because there's just no way to get your health high enough to survive 2 hits from that. I think it's a really bad game mechanic. It's really bad.
We use it quite often.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's terrible, but I happily. So I guess another question in terms of if you're running solo or in a group, let's talk about some of the other skills that work really well with Pulse. So I don't know who's got ideas on this. I mean, to me, one of the things that I've started using is I'll actually use. I'm a big first aid guy, mainly because I want to stay alive. I have so
Who
much-
isn't? Who isn't? Everybody's
Yeah.
running Pulse First Aid. It's the
Pulse
only
and
thing that
first
we do.
aid. Pulse and first
Yep.
aid. Yeah, I'm
But
running the same thing.
Yeah, and I run it with Booster, which I think most people do as
Yep.
well. And
Same here.
that's a really nice little natural kind of combination. The two of those working together. There's been a lot of times where I'm totally full health, and I might even have my, might even be kind of overhealed, and I run it anyway because my skill powers are at the point where my first aid is, recharge, kind of recharges really quickly, and it's almost like I'm using it as much as a damage buff, with the added bonus of keeping me alive when I need it. But I don't know. I mean, Pulse First Aid, they work and together. I mean, I've run it with Smart Cover as well, which is kind of a nice combination. I mean, I've seen gains there, and I'm
Really
not doing
for teams, right?
That-
I mean, you can't keep yourself alive that way, only through medkits, and that's kind of, you got to go to the
Yeah.
safe house every 10 minutes. So I guess only in teams, right, that you're using Smart Cover.
Yeah, or you put exactly
Yeah.
one guy with Smart Cover, and then you get into these engagements where you've got central, where you're all staying in one spot all the time. Like, I don't know, the incursion.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about PvP wise, but yeah, definitely the incursion.
Yeah.
Smart Cover, really good.
Right, and stacked up with kind of this with the Pulse, it's a really nice combination, man. You can get some really serious damage numbers going. Yeah, so, and Tactical Link, obviously, you can get in a situation where you've got all four of those things going. I mean, I haven't run the math to see actually how much your damage boost is, but it's significant. I've seen my sniper, which normally crits at around 300,000. It's an M1A, and with my firepower where it is, it's usually around 300. But I've pushed over 500,000 with the M1A using a combination of these skills together. So
I've probably pushed 2 million with.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, we're seeing millions now.
Yeah.
Had a way to make me feel totally inadequate as a gamer. You guys.
And that's without Tactical Link, man. That's
Yeah,
just,
those M44s are dump trucks, man.
I think even with the M1A,
Mhm.
M1A,
Yeah, because you can put out, and I don't know the numbers, and I'm actually kind of curious of this because I switched between both of them. I use the M1A during PvP because of the high rate of fire, and I can get a 300.
Well, for me, it's like the other way around. I use the M1A for PvE, basically, well, because the high rate of fire just does more damage per second. But then for PvP, I usually don't land more than a couple shots with the sniper before they start running away, and then I can't hit them anymore.
Mhm.
So I just use the M44 and just one-shot them. That's enough for me. So for me, it's like the other way around, basically.
Yeah, and kind of wrapping up on the Pulse. Well, I guess a couple of things. One, highly recommend the video that Marco put out. I guess it was 2 to 3 weeks ago. On the Pulse, did a really kind of in-depth look at it. So, probably more in-depth even than we've done here, and looking at some kind of nuances there. So everybody go and check that out for sure. The last kind of thing I wanted to talk about in regards to the Pulse is let's talk about group composition for a second. So we mentioned that in the Dark Zone, it makes sense to have at least two, one running Scrambler and one running the damage, tactical. But Marco, you said you guys actually, everybody in your group runs it?
Yes, so we rotate them 2 by 2, basically, in these prolonged fights. So we always have Scrambler. Obviously, you might be wondering, hey, why would you use Scrambler if, people are already finding you? But the thing about, well, this is something that it's really easier if you just watch the video, but really short, Scrambler makes it so that the crit damage and the crit chance that the other person would gain from their pulls also doesn't apply to you. So basically, Scrambler completely nullifies their pulls. So if you have your damage pulls and then a Scrambler as well, you're preventing damage. You're preventing incoming damage as well as having more outgoing damage if they don't run the Scrambler. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, what I said. But if you want to go in technical details again, it's better if you just watch the video. It's a lot of science behind it, I guess. So yeah, you can even run four pulses, and it would still be very valuable. And as soon as on the rare occasion that somebody does drop down to a low amount of health, Survivor Link, you got 4 of those, and this is how you pretty much never die. So that's how it works.
It's the God mode that's actually in the game.
That's
I
the
don't
build.
like it. I don't like
Yeah.
it, but it's the meta right now, so I
Yeah,
guess I'll
he's
just
right.
go with it.
Yeah, that's what everybody's running.
All right, let's talk about PvE then. So in terms of group composition and PvE, we can talk about a couple different kinds of content, but obviously the incursion is, kind of comes to mind as kind of supposedly the pinnacle of the PvE experience right now. We usually, and I'm curious on everyone's thoughts on this. I mean, typically when we are building our team, we'll run two guys with the pulse because we're primarily looking at that pulse, and it's usually both tactical, and we're looking at it as a damage buff. And there's enough with two guys and where we all are on skill power and some of the other kind of talents that we're using to make sure there's always a pulse up.
I don't know if that's smart because if your skill power is high enough, then basically the duration is longer than the cooldown itself. Basically, the cooldown caps out at 20 seconds. Duration is always 25, except if you have like no mods at all. So if you can get your skill power to get 35k or something, then your duration should be about 25 seconds, as well as the cooldown. So basically, you have this utility person, this buff body, basically buff and heals, utility, vision, that kind of stuff. And he can basically just spam the pulls, and there will be a 100% uptime of pulls, and you only need one. The reason that you don't do this in the Dark Zone is obviously because you give up a lot of damage, potential damage and health this way. But this is the way that I think it should be done in PvE. If you were to ask me.
Yeah, when we were running it, we didn't have anybody kind of maxed on skill power, so we were seeing a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, interestingly, those gaps would always occur.
Yeah, when the shotgunners came down.
Ready to come down.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a good. So, and it's actually it's funny because I'm glad you mentioned it. The benefits of kind of having somebody specialized and focused on skill power. If you're not in a spot where you've managed to kind of push everything to high levels, there is a spot, right, where once that person gets to that 35,000 that we were talking about, a skill power, where okay, now it actually frees up in your team somebody else to have a different skill. So I actually think it's a really good. I mean, if you guys are running under that and you can't manage it, I still say that it's better to have the pulse up almost all the time, and so maybe you give something else up. But for me, I mean, for my taste, I'd rather have that pulse up. But if you have a guy, like you said, that's up around 30 and can keep it up, yeah, absolutely, it wouldn't make sense.
And also, if there's like if you have like 25k, that's also fine. You get like a 30-second cooldown, so there's only like a 5-second downtime. I don't think that's much of a problem. And you can get away with that as well a lot of times, because there are times where you're just not shooting for 5 seconds.
Yeah, try and save your.
It's never at the good time.
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, if you know the new round's coming up, if there's like a couple enemies left, there's no need to use your pulse, right? You gotta be a little smart about it too. But sure.
Yeah. So good point, and I think. Yeah, and I guess if your skill power is much under 25, you're probably not ready in other ways for the incursion. So I guess, yeah, I think that's probably, I mean, I see your point there. There is something about, it's so funny, man, there is something about the psychological safety of knowing that you'll never be without a pulse, but at some point, what Marco's doing here, folks, is he's challenging us to stop being babies and run with one pulse. So we'll see. I might try it. I think I'll try it.
Not in the Dark Zone, though. Don't try that shit.
Yeah, so I think, so generally what you're saying is that in the incursion you run with you've got one guy that's running pulse and running tactical, and that's pretty much. I
don't use tactical in the incursion at all. It's still 4 times survivor link. For tactical link to be as good as the survivor link, the tactical link would have to buff for 400% of your damage, because that's the amount of damage that's mitigated, 400%.
No, I misspoke there. So what I meant was that mod on the pulse that increases damage. There's no reason to run recon or scrambler.
Oh no, yeah, definitely.
If you're Cool. Hey, anything else on the pulse that you guys want to before we move on? Anything else you want to kind of add in?
I think we pretty much covered it all, man.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's do. So one of the things when we mentioned in the Discord that when we had actually confirmed the time and we knew Marco was going to be coming on, we put out there to our listeners, hey, if you could have 10 questions for Marco,
Oh
what
God.
would they be?
Oh God.
This is the thing that comes with your massive YouTube celebrity, my friend. So we got 10 questions for you. First,
Okay.
I think this guy was kind of being a smartass because of how you close all your comments or all your videos, but how do you say hello in the Netherlands?
Oh, that's a really complicated one. It's something like hollow. It's straight up hollow. It's just that. It's not that different.
Yeah, for those of you that for some reason have not seen Marco's videos, he's got a tagline that he uses at the end where he says, as they say in the Netherlands, zie je
And
later?
then see you later. See you later. Gewoon pretty easy enough.
Pretty easy. Hey, second question. We'll kind of actually skip this, I think. How would you describe the state of the game? See our conversation in, I think, minute 7 of this podcast.
How would I describe? We covered that, right? Yeah, we did.
Okay, 3. This one's kind of pretty timely. Just happened. What do you think of Ubi's recent approach on hackers and their threats regarding exploiters?
Good. It's a route I like to see them take. I can finally go into the dark zone again and maybe not get instantly shut down. No, it's not that bad. I actually played yesterday for a lot, and I did not see a single hacker. So either they're scared, or the ban wave really got a lot of players there. I don't know. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it was funny because at one point, I guess Hamish was on. I think he was on Streamer House's stream, and they were.
Oh yeah, and he was like live banning everybody,
They were, like,
every
live
hacker that came
banning.
on. Yeah,
people,
I
which was-
didn't get to see that. I'm a little bit sad, but I may have to watch a rebroadcast of that.
Yeah, I mean, for those of us that play on consoles, the hacker piece, wasn't really bothering us that much. But we got a lot of listeners that play on PC, and I mean, for a while there, it was, getting in some ways to be unplayable. It'd be like so hit or miss for them.
Yeah.
Constantly changing servers and things like that. So I'm glad to see it. I feel like 2 weeks. Saws, what do you think about it? Right now, what they're saying is 2 weeks and second offense is a permaban. I mean, Saws, what do you think? I think that feels about right to me.
Yeah, as far as hackers go, I mean, again, you're doing something that the game never intended for you to do. You are purposefully breaking the game. You deserve some kind of really harsh penalty. Yeah, I totally understand that. As far as like exploits go, I think that there should be some kind of punishment for it. I struggle with the idea that you put out a game that had a broken part to it, and then you're punishing us because it was broken. I don't know.
I can kind of see that. I can kind of see that. I mean, I've used this exploit myself because there was no punishment, but I know that in other games, for example, if we take a look at, for example, the developer Blizzard, they punish him. After it's been acknowledged that there is an exploit like that and stuff, and they put it on the forums. Hey, if you do this, you're gonna get some sort of punishment for it. The only thing that I'm still a little bit worried about is if the exploit is, let's say, something like the APC exploit, where you could keep redoing the mission over and over with a different host to keep getting the weekly rewards. If it's something like that, I think a lot of people are still going to exploit if the punishment isn't high enough. I think simply because the reason is if you can get, let's say, 20 gear pieces, 25 gear pieces that you otherwise could only get once a week, I think that's completely worth even a 3-day or a weekly ban. Like, I would happily be banned for a week to just get 25 of those items, which says a lot about the game, by the way, more than me as a player, because it's just of how unrewarding the gameplay is. But yeah, I really hope they get these punishments right, because if it's going to be a 3-day ban or a week ban, which is a lot for just using an exploit, by the way, but I think that's still worth it to get like 25 high-end items that nobody would get, because after a week you get back online, and then you're still better than everybody else who's going to play in the next 2 months, right? So I'm wondering how they're going to handle this. I'm really looking forward to see it.
Well, you said in terms of like that forum post with Blizzard, I think it's fair if you actually tell the community like if you do this, this
Mm-hmm.
is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they need to do is they have that news feed in the game when you hit that start menu. I think it needs to be there. I think it needs to be there for people. Otherwise, it seems a little bit ridiculous because I mean the way that Blizzard was is very online. You're very connected to the forums and everything. Whereas in the Division, it's a console game in addition to the PC game, and the console players aren't necessarily getting online as often.
I can
So
see, yeah, I can see where that's
yeah,
coming from. You
I,
want
I
people
really
to,
want to
you
see
want
that
more
in that
visibility
news.
on that.
Yeah,
You want people to give a clear warning. Hey, there's this bug in the game. If you use it, you're done.
yeah, because as long as they do that, then I would see it more as fair.
Yeah, the
All
only
right.
side to that is, right, what if those same players that aren't connected may not know about the bugs. Right? And
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
if somebody's not constantly on Reddit or on the forums, they might not even know about the bugs. And so they have to walk this balance of number one, you want to be transparent, right? But number
But you
two,
don't want everybody to know about the bug too.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was what I was thinking as well. So
Or I mean, make it general. We acknowledge that there's a bug in the incursion right now. If you participate in the bug, you will receive some kind of punishment. You're not saying that like exactly what it is.
well, here's the thing about that too. I think that like the one that you just mentioned, Marco, where it's about changing your host, right? Who you come in with as the host, and you're essentially kind of skipping the weekly gate on
Mhm.
rewards. That to me is completely different than glitching out of the map and sticky bombing the APC from a wall, from inside.
Well, here's the thing, right? You can combine the two.
Yeah, you can do
So
both.
you can do the APC thing and still have somebody else be the host. So
Yeah.
you're still getting the weekly challenge. That's the thing.
Yeah, I guess my point is something like, and we all go back to like Bullet King, right? I mean, like, are there going to be things here where they say, okay, well, you still legitly ran the incursion 25 times, right? You
Yeah.
skipped our gating mechanic, but you ran it legit and you didn't glitch it. Are those versus someone that combined with that or not is glitching out of the map and not even doing the incursion legit? Is there going to be a difference in penalty? Is there going to be a difference in the things that they tag as bugs? I mean, that's what I'm interested to see.
I honestly don't. To be honest, the only reason that we did it like legit and not with APC is because legit was faster. It's just. I mean, you can clear the incursion and challenge mode in like 20 minutes. And with the sticky bomb, the thing just doesn't die. It's like I don't know, 160 million health or something.
Yeah.
And it's just faster to just plant the bomb 4 times. That's the honest reason for you right there. I probably, if the sticky bomb was faster, and if I knew about the weapon swapping to increase your damage and shit like that back then, I probably would have done it. Probably would have done it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's, and if I look at something like Bullet King, right?
Yes.
Again, are those the kind of things that are going to warrant a gear rollback or a ban? I don't know, man. I just something like gaming a respawn. For
You know what confuses me so much is that the developers, they've done it themselves. I watched Hamish stream doing it. I watched him do the Police Academy glitch. I watched him have over 200 high-end crafting mats all out of the sudden the day after the Bullet King was revealed. It's so obvious that the developers have used these exploits very extensively themselves as well for several things, and then they play with people who use them as well. Like the first day that the incursion came out, the developers were playing with people with 220 gear score and like, hey, they were asking, hey, did you glitch? And they're like, no, I didn't glitch. I got this legit. Okay, good thing then. Except that the thing is on a weekly timer, and the only way you could have gotten that gear score is if you glitch. So it's I don't have anything against using those glitches, but I think it's kind of weird to give character rollbacks and stuff like that if you're using these glitches so extensively as well. But I think that's going to change from now on, right? I really don't hope to see the developers doing it on the stream themselves and then saying, All right, everybody who does this, well, you're gonna get banned. You're gonna get the ban hammer, basically. So, I'm just looking forward to see what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. All right, so next question. Let's just pause here for just a second. You okay?
I was like, what is that on the side?
These are my buddies. Your game phone.
That's-
Okay. Daddy's got to finish up my podcast. Okay. All right, love you. We're getting into the window. It's all right. So let's go through the rest. We'll jump back in. Okay. Loadouts. Loadout differences between PvE and PvP quickly. What are the kind of main differences in your loadouts, Marco, between PvP and PvE?
PvP, I run with 4x Sentry because it's OP, it's broken. And in PvE, I pretty much play Tactician's Authority because it, in the incursion you get a bit of damage in, and your skills are just so good. So you just pulls smart cover, and you basically do 2 million damage with your sniper from that point on. So that's it. Tactician's Authority for PvE, and then what is it called? Sentry for the Dark Zone.
Yeah, Sentry's call. In terms of your actual weapon loadouts, you're using the same weapons?
Sniper, SMG.
Okay.
That's it. Like that's the OP right now.
That's it. That's the loadout. Yep.
All right. Question number 5. Any predictions for the upcoming incursion? You were actually close on predictions for the last. I thought you were. I thought you made some comments about what you thought the incursion were going to be, and you were pretty right on.
Yeah, no? I think we're gonna have a very exciting, innovative 15 waves of enemies, where we're gonna be fighting a jet. Not one that's flying, but just one that's standing on the ground.
Place.
And the way we're gonna have to kill it is we're gonna have to somewhere in these waves somebody's carrying a bomb, and we're gonna have to place that on the back of the jet. That's your incursion right there.
I think you're gonna have to throw it this time.
I was just gonna say,
you're gonna throw it.
Yeah,
that's gonna be the new part.
That would make things even easier because you could just do it from a distance.
Yeah.
And then if you miss, you have to go close and pick it up and get wrecked by the turrets. That would be a terrible game mechanic.
Turrets.
Oh, you know what I heard, by the way? I saw this post on Reddit where somebody tried to plant a bomb on the tank, but then he died there because I don't know, something went wrong. So somebody else, if you die, somebody else gets the bomb, right? So somebody else can go plant it. But because he died at the back of the APC, every time that the guy tried to press the X button to plant a bomb, he would go into the revive for the guy. And it was wave 15, and they could not finish the incursion because every time he tried to plant a bomb, he would start reviving the guy. And it was a long revive as well, the one that takes like 10 seconds. So there was no way they could finish the incursion after 15 waves, after 2 hours of playing. Like, what the hell?
Oh, no.
We had some of our guys. I guess, Golden, it was your first run with Pretzel. You guys got to wave 15, and people started falling through the floor and getting and
that's
DCing and everything. Yeah.
I would have been so salty there.
But you have to understand that was the first time of many times after that. I would have to say that in the incursion, I've done it probably, I don't know, 15 times, and I'd say out of those 15 times, we've fallen through the floor probably 8.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking. Somebody at some point falls through the floor at some point.
Really, the only times that I've had trouble with falling through the floor is in the beginning. I've been several times where I joined somebody, and everybody's like, "Yo, Marco, why are you not coming over to the ladder?" And I'm like, "Well, there's no floor for me here, so."
I'm in the basement. Yeah,
it's like I've even been on the ladder once, and the ladder was just not there; it was invisible. And I was just climbing down, and I was just looking down, and all I see is black, and I'm like, "Well, guys, I don't think this is gonna end well." At the moment I step off this ladder, it's just like, "Oh, fall through the floor," and we had to switch servers to fix it. I don't even know how that happens, man.
Yeah, I don't know where the.
We were talking about, we have a dev, he's not one of the massive guys, but he works in development. He was saying that, it probably has to do with the way the game is rendering relative to, I said something about spatial whatever. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't understand what I'm talking about. But just
Yeah, I
give me
know.
the
I just that was like when Marco's heading down the ladder into the darkness. That's how I felt right there.
Yeah, you can see the darkness. Just knew you should stop.
Marco, favorite stat in the game?
I really I really have to think about this. These were gonna be easy questions. Favorite stat? I think movement speed.
Let's move on.
Mo-
movement speed.
Movement speed for that, yeah, because I don't like to waste my time, and I waste my time a lot running around. So it's gotten to the point where if we have a pretty empty dark zone, we just use a signature skill to get from landmark to landmark faster.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. Like that's awesome. Run fast. Run
Yeah,
fast.
the 30% movement speed. Just run past all the enemies, landmark to landmark, division tech, division tech. That's it. Movement speed.
Yeah.
Question 7. We're wrapping up here. What changes would you make to weapon balance? Obviously, this is a long answer, but if you've got any short answer, what would
Remove
you do?
crit damage from SMGs.
Pull
Or
crit.
crit chance. Crit chance.
Remove.
Yeah, remove.
Ah, all right.
Right now, SMGs already, even without the extra damage, they're so easy to handle that up close they are still king. So without the 20% crit chance, I think they would do just fine. Especially considering how much recoil some of the other weapon classes have.
LMG. Unreal.
Yeah, or even the assault rifles.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I wish I wanted to
Especially
run
on consoles.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
I mean, with a mouse, it's quite easier to compensate for it, but on consoles, I've tried to play with a controller a few times on the PC. Even with auto aim, it's like, Jesus, that recoil.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
You do end up, and it's tough when you're trying to move around, but you do end up just really either pulsing it, right, and so you lose kind of the lose round sound range to kind of try and keep things in play, or you end up literally just riding the one stick, which is, I mean, you can do it, but it's challenging, particularly at range. Like if you're trying to ARs,
like 20, 40 meters, like in that range, it's like it goes everywhere.
Yep. Question 8. Favorite weapon talent?
Crit damage.
Crit damage, yeah. No, I think that's really boring. I'm trying to think of a good talent, but honestly, so many talents are just not that good. I think what are pretty cool talents are the talents that have a chance to apply a certain crowd control effect to your enemy. So, for example, the first bullet in the magazine has a chance to set one on fire.
Yeah, that's
somebody
great
tries
on
to
a
put
sniper.
bleed.
The blind one.
Blind as well, bleed,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I think those are really cool. I think they should have a lot more of those. Like the first bullet in the magazine has a 50% chance to stun somebody. That kind of stuff. Maybe 50% a little bit too much. But those kind of things. Really cool.
If you could have any additional cosmetic item in the game, I think we'll go around the horn on this one, but we'll start with you, Marco. If you could just pick any cosmetic item in the game.
Santa Claus outfit with the fat belly and all. I want to be fucking ho-ho-hoing through the dark zone, shooting up everybody. Christmas coming early for you, buddy.
Nothing says holiday cheer like someone you down with
it fits the setting too, because everywhere you see these Christmas lights and Christmas trees, it would be so perfect.
Yeah.
Probably the only cosmetic item that I would buy.
Golden, if you could add any cosmetic item into the game, what would it be?
Freddy Krueger's outfit.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking one of those beer helmets for you with the straws. That
With the straws that come out. Come right there. I'm in. Put it in.
Saz, if you could add any cosmetic item in the game, what would it be?
All right. The easy one would be I want some more sunglasses. I think that would be cool. Get some stunner shades going on. But I think if we're gonna go like costume, Abe Lincoln. Let's get some Abe Lincoln up in the dark zone. He's coming for you. You best watch out.
The tall hat. Yeah. I don't know. For me, I think I would go like short sandals and a tank top, like a summer, which would just be perfect, running through the frigid New York snowstorms.
And then your backpack would be like a mini fridge with beer cans coming out of it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Perfect. It's like
there you go.
You roll around. Yeah, that'd be good. Did anybody get the cosmetic? I didn't buy them. I saw the cosmetic packs where you could roll with like the hockey outfit or whatever. That was kind of cool. I mean, it's all right. I didn't buy it, but pretty cool. All right, last question. Oh, this is a cool one. So this is about your channel in particular. Where do you see your kind of content going as a YouTuber here on the game? Are you going to stick to this game? Are you going to diversify? Is it all going to depend on?
I think I'm gonna, for one, I'm definitely gonna pick up Wildlands when we're getting closer to E3 this year. So I think Wildlands is really fitting for the channel as well. It's kind of not really the same type of game, but it falls a little bit within the same genre at least. And I think a lot of people that like the Division are also gonna like that. So that falls within that line. I am going to be moving away from news a little bit. I have been doing that in the past, and I've been going more towards, informative videos, where I explain things and stuff like that, because I feel like the news videos, it's just so stressful because you're always trying to be the fastest, and you can never put as much time and love into the work as with the other content, basically. Because if you can't post it like 2 days later and talk about your thoughts, talk about your things extensively, because then some other channel has already posted it and everybody already knows about it, and then it's pretty much irrelevant. So I really don't like the whole news thing. Maybe I'll do like a weekly wrap up of all the important stuff at one point, but I think I want to be moving away from the quick news bits. I've not updated on the post about the hackers that we just talked about. I've not really extensively updated on anything that the developers have posted recently, and I've kind of been doing my own thing with like the skills research and how to improve the game, those kind of things. So informational and opinion-based stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's for me, not everybody can do that kind of work. I mean, realistically speaking, like everybody has their spot, right? Everybody does their own thing, but there's a lot of guys that they just don't think that way, or they don't think about the game that way, or they don't have the tools to do that. And so, I mean, it's funny because one of the things that I've been watching your stuff for a long time. I think those of us that have been looking forward to the game, and it was interesting to kind of see your approach shift, right? Because it went from doing predictive stuff to kind of analyzing the details that were out there and a lot of really, really cool stuff to now kind of really breaking down kind of what's in the game and some of these hidden mechanics and making those things accessible, which I think is really cool. There's a couple guys doing that kind of work. I mean, I think is one of the guys that does it.
He does a lot with weapons in particular. So I'm not even going to touch on weapons because I know that he's going to do it, basically. So that's what I've been doing with the skills and stuff like that, and I just trust him to do the weapons. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because it's one of those things like, so we were all Destiny players. Like, I loved Dado for that same reason because he did really thoughtful content that tried to get behind some of the mechanics in the game. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. It's a cool thing. I know you caught a bunch of flack a couple months ago where you posted I think it was a mat glitch or something, the thing where you could see instances, and caught a bunch of flack. And I remember you had a video addressing it after and all that. It's funny too because this week Eric's ran into the same kind of buzzsaw on Reddit because somebody saw him in a Willis Gaming video exploiting it. I don't know, man. The way I look at it, and I guess this would just be my kind of encouragement to our listeners, is these guys put a ton of time into their content. I mean, I heard you say at one point, Marco, your average video, this latest like healing video that you put out, how many hours do you have in that?
50, 60 hours or something, because we have to do research, then we have to do recording, I have to put the script together. Luckily I have really reliable friends who are online every day and willing to help me at any instant when I ask them. Like literally they're playing Rocket League and I say, "You have time?" and he's like on the Division the next second. Yeah. So I've got a lot of luck that there's so many people willing to help me out. So I basically have my own schedule. I sleep 2 times a day for 4 hours, and then I break it up, all kinds of different things. But yeah, it's a lot of work to put those videos together, like a lot of work.
Yeah, and I guess the making is not just whatever, but these guys, we all benefit from the work that you guys do. I mean, like, so we probably spend on the podcast and all the things we do, we might spend 6 hours a week. You guys are spending 60 hours to put out a video, and I think, I don't know, from my perspective, I'm more apt to give you guys a break because you're spending a lot of time and effort to benefit.
But it's also, we're enjoying it, and we're also doing it for ourselves. Like, if I didn't have my YouTube channel, I would have still been the same nerd, and I probably would have still tried to do it just for myself, so I could, see what would be, mathematically the best build, and just, go with that. It's always something that I've liked to do. I've played a lot of strategy games in the past, RTS games and stuff like that, and they're, timing windows and stuff like that, trying out new things. That was really a big thing there, so maybe it's coming from there. So, and just because I have a YouTube channel, it makes it so much more fun because I can share the results and basically surprise people. I think that the thing with the cooldowns that I'm going to do very soon, I'm still working on that. That's going to surprise a lot of people. It's going to come out with information that nobody has expected or known. Like, I think currently 5 people in the game know that. I think that's pretty safe to say. So that's really cool about it. It's a hobby as well. It's not like work, if you know what I'm saying.
No, awesome. Guys, we're closing on an hour and a half, so let's wrap this thing. Marco, thanks for coming on. It was a good show, I think, and really appreciated you lending your insight. You're welcome anytime, my friend. And if you need, if you ever need any help with research or stuff, we do have a group of listeners that I think would be willing to pitch in. So let us know.
Yeah, I'm on your Discord now, right? So
Yeah.
I've been asking around a lot, like seeing if anyone has done any research on skills, but it seems like a lot of people just, are not bothered with it. They just don't want to get into it. So I had to start from scratch. But yeah, I'm in your Discord and I'll ask around if I ever need anyone.
Perfect, man. All right, so everybody, thank you for listening. As always, we certainly appreciate it. Have a lot of fun doing the show, and really are glad that so many of you are listening and sharing and rating us on iTunes and doing all the things to kind of help the show grow. We certainly appreciate that. If you want to be a part of the show, dzrmailbag@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at Dark Zone Report. And also make sure you check out the website, darkzonereport.com. Just launched. We'll actually be doing a good amount of featuring of content and stuff, even not just stuff that's just ours, but kind of highlighting the best stuff from around the web and stuff. So great place to kind of check. And we'll be trying to put some tools up there that are really useful. So again, thanks everybody for getting up early and making this happen. And we'll do it again next week. Not you, maybe Marco, but maybe soon, man. It was great to have you on, and you certainly
it was all fun.
Anytime. So everybody else, hey, thanks and be safe, and we will see you in the Dark Zone. Nice, good show, guys.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. You have to understand, my play style is more, it's definitely run and gun, getting in groups and everything. But, noticing some of the my cooldowns lately, I did not know that it was directly hooked up to my skill power. So, I was running it. I was at like 35, almost 40 at one point. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'll drop it back down, and I noticed a substantial decrease in my skill. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and take care of that.
Clean that.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
You too, man.
All right, Dan. See you guys.
Go take a nap.
Yeah, I'm going to sleep. See you guys.
All right,